The internet offers you a free market research tool that is incredibly profitable, that is perfect for the freelance copywriter, the marketer, even the publisher. And I'm going to teach you today how to get started with that particular tool. I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips. Let's talk about Reddit. Reddit is a platform that has a number of subtopics specific to either market interests or topical interests that provides an unlimited supply of valuable resources to market your products and services. The difference between what I'm going to share with you today and what most people share is that most people will tell you you promote your product on Reddit, or you go out to Reddit and you do posts to try to get attention. I don't think that's a good idea. My experience has shown that Reddit is a better tool for doing audience and topical research than it is for anything else. You don't want to be posting there to try to promote yourself. It will backfire. But let me show you how this works. First off, because it's an anonymous platform, many of its users will share or overshare information that gives you insights that you wouldn't get otherwise. This is like the copywriting that John Carlton talks about, where you go to a bar and you pitch the idea to the people in the bar as conversation and then get their feedback. And really the feedback you're looking for is, how do I buy this product or service? Now, this means that you're going to go someplace to talk to real and specific people, and you need to understand their individual situation. Well, the good news about Reddit is that it has a long history of people oversharing, people delivering emotional arguments and such. As a social sharing platform, it gives you awesome human behavior research. Now, of course, any large message board will do this. And in fact, Jim Strahl talked about this in the past, about going into message boards and really observing and researching individuals in the audience. And that is kind of what we're going to talk about here. Now, I've used this as a marketer, as a selling professional, as a publisher, in order to find content ideas. And I will tell you right now that my experience this morning is what derived these tips to get you started using Reddit as a free market research tool. Now, what are you looking for when you're in Reddit? Well, you're going to go in there and you're going to find individuals and topics that are relevant to your products and services. You're looking for the language that they use to describe problems. You're looking for their emotional situations and expressions. Now, I know there's a lot of distractions on there that you can get distracted, but we don't want those. We're looking for the conversation in the mind of your target customer. Now, you want to go back to the podcast that we talked about customer avatar. We want to go back and look at what is your customer, who is your customer, what do they want? Because when you go into Reddit, it will be a literal gold mine to enhance those profiles, to get case situation. Another thing you can find in Reddit is mob reaction to sharing information. So you might see somebody give a good piece of advice, but you're going to see all the objections, all of the, well, that doesn't work for me, all of the counter argument right there in the public, easy to read. You're also going to see a lot of bad advice that looks good. And this is, this is what it looks like. How do other people present an argument to solve a problem? And it's just ridiculous. And you're going to see that in there, and you can extract that. Sometimes people in the discussion will point that out. And finally, you're going to see common overreactions and social pressure. Let me give you an example. On the personal finance forum, somebody posted that they make $180,000 a year. They got 3 kids. They're having financial problems. They're pretty much broke. They don't know what to do. And you see in the comments, oh, for as much money as you make, you should be able to pay your bills. Oh, it's not the kid's fault. Oh, it must be your wife. The post has nothing to do with a wife. It could be a married, cohabitation, 2 males, 2 females. It could be a male and a female. It could be the female writing. It could be the male writing. None of that matters. A lot of people will reply to Reddit posts from their own personal situations. So if you archive that thread, and I'm actually writing an article about this with some tools to archive threads, but essentially if you print out that thread, what you're going to find in the thread is there's a husband who has got a problem with his wife, and she's overspending money. And that's why the bills aren't getting paid. So that's a character. You could spin that off into an avatar if you have a financial offer. But you might also see a couple who is they cooperate with each other and they have some advice and they work together with budget. Well, that's a different kind of customer. So you're really able to see the human behavior almost as a researcher for a sociology type of project, but you can extract that human behavior. You can extract the research topics. You can extract the emotional connections. And now these are all very important. Now, what I do particularly is I turn the Reddit thread, and we can go into detail about what kinds of threads you're looking for, but it really depends on your particular product or service or the copywriting assignment that you're working on. But I take that thread and I turn it into a PDF file. So this particular thread, married, 3 kids, broke and not sure how to fix it, turned into a 53-page inventory of the conversation, which I then loaded into Zotero. Now, I don't like to give you tools, but Zotero is a research tool that I can put a PDF in there and I can go through and highlight the PDF and I can make notes about what's going on. Those notes become my character information, my problem information, my benefits information. And then you also want to look for now I'm looking for the discouragement and where people are being encouraged and where people are getting angry, because I want that emotional part of my copy. So we're going to go ahead and get that into a PDF. And then we're going to get, there could be hundreds or thousands of replies. So you just the PDF also gives you a point in time. But the best practice is to go through the discussion thread, and we're going to do 5 things. Number 1 is we're going to document the situations and problems in which your product can overcome. So it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to get into the conversation, but we're looking for the problems and situations that your problem can solve. Now, we're not going in there and replying to anybody. We're not going in there and posting about your products or services. We're simply taking a note, even building an outline for an article or a lead generation piece where there are specific situations. Next, we're going to look for customer avatars. There are different types of people talking to each other on this forum. We're going to start building out who are the types of people. So in this case, we have a husband and wife who are having financial problems. One of the spouses has gone online and asked the question to a general audience. They are desperate. That is a husband and wife, or a couple, a married couple, who has one party interested in a possible solution. So now when you're writing your sales letter, you can write to this specific individual. Hey, are you in a committed relationship and having financial problems and you want to do something about it and your spouse doesn't? Here's how we address that. You might be in a situation where you can describe the husband and wife. They want to go towards a solution and one is a little bit more motivated than the other. How do you get the other person motivated? What do we need? What topics we need to introduce them to? So we're creating these customer avatars within the topical discussion, because you're also going to see people like the mother-in-law who says, for all that money you're earning, why can't you pay your bills? It's irresponsible for you to be doing this to your children and putting them at risk. See, we're going to build these characters out. You're going to end up with 2 or 3 different characters, and you're going to start developing their pro and con, and then again your solution becomes the revelation. It becomes the transition to the new level. You're also going to inventory objections to good advice. So you're going to see some good advice. You can highlight that. I usually highlight that in green. And then you're going to see some bad advice, and I highlight that in red. And so that tells me that I now have something to overcome. So a lot of folks immediately jump on this person in this thread and say, look, you didn't mention anything about a budget. Well, my response to that for a financial product, in fact, I'm writing this for my Sustainable Wealth Secrets newsletter, is if budgets made people wealthy, then there wouldn't be anybody who's poor, right? Because if you could just spend your money better, or if you could just, restrict your expenses, then you'd have more money. That's what the claim is. I see that very heavy in there. I see language around that. And it's a really frustrating thing, because if you're a high-income professional and you have a budget but it's not working because of taxes, because of external situations, because of overspending due to emotional problems, overspending due to stress, bad financial decisions. Maybe you got involved in FTX, which is having a big problem today. Maybe you got involved in Enron. See, the trigger becomes that objection to good advice. Now, sarcasm is another thing we're looking for, and there's a lot of it on Reddit because it is an anonymous social forum. You want to be able to identify the sarcasm, and you can start talking to the avatar. You can say to the avatar, "Hey, I know you're struggling. You're making $180,000 a year. You've got 3 kids. You're frustrated, but you know what? The first thing you're probably going to hear from folks is that you should just make a budget. And you've tried budgeting before, it just didn't work. Why did it not work? Well, you got tax situations, you've got poor investment performance, you've got inflation. What if there was a better solution?" So do you see what I'm doing here? I'm able to use these other conversations to role play and to create an argument for the product or service that you offer. Now, the fifth thing that you're looking for is product development opportunities. Because there will be somebody in there that says, "Hey, look, budgeting worked for me, and here's why." And you can tell from the conversation that they're a similar demographic as the person asking the question, and they're a demographic in your audience group, and you can actually extract those elements about why budgeting works for some people, and what are the things that need to be in place for budgeting to function. Now, again, if I was writing an offer for a financial services professional, if I was writing something for a bank, if I was writing something for an investment firm, this one thread, 53 pages, more than 500 comments, is a gold mine to me as a publisher because I'd know I'd have this whole conversation. But we have to turn it into something. So you're going to take the PDF file, you're going to print it out, you're going to start developing your notes in those 5 categories: the situation or problem, the customers that are involved or the individuals that are involved, the arguments or the emotional elements, the inventory of objections to good advice or sarcasm to good advice, and then, of course, the product element. As an information publisher or a publisher of newsletters, I'm looking for the conversation that I can present to my prospective subscriber to generate leads. I'm also looking for the case study that I can provide for my existing paying subscriber. And then finally, I'm looking for an advertising channel. Now, this is perhaps the most important part because as you're going through these conversations, you may be compelled to jump in there and provide a little bit of advice. I know on the Warrior Forum, Jim Strahl, there's a couple other marketers who would jump in on the Warrior Forum and answer people's questions, and they had a really good personality about them to get someone to raise their hand and ask for more information. I have gotten customers off of Reddit. I have gotten customers off of different message boards and platforms, but I found the most cost-effective way is not posting free advice. It's not getting involved in the conversation other than to learn a little bit more about the person's situation, kind of an anonymous consultation, or to survey the general audience. But it's also not a place where you're going to go in there and ask somebody to become a client. Now, if you're you're writing financial offers, there are many of the forums related to financial offers. Any kind of self-promotion will get you banned. In fact, I'm banned from personal finance, the personal finance forum, and have no idea why. But ultimately, any advice that advocates taking action, being responsible, or otherwise buying a product or service, or even investing into hiring a CPA, for example, very often is crapped upon by the moderators. Moderators are extremely fickle. So I'm not saying that you post on these platforms or you even interact with people on these platforms because your own interaction could sway or persuade the conversation. We're just using it as a resource for free research. But how do we make that research profitable? Here's what you do. You write a lead generation piece. Now, if you're developing a new product, you write the sales letter first, but I'm assuming that you're writing a sales letter for a client, or you're writing lead generation pieces, or you're otherwise promoting a specific product. You use the thread that you've archived off, the notes that you've taken on the thread, the highlights that highlight bad information, good information, at customers or audience groups. You take those notes and you write a lead generation piece. That lead generation piece is going to have 3 or 4 pay-per-click ads. You go back to Reddit and you buy advertising and you promote a post, sending people to a lead generation page where you offer them a free tip sheet, a free report. You offer them some kind of information that gets them in your sales funnel. So we're not on Reddit in order to become famous or to get karma or to interact with that audience to get a sale. We're there to understand the human behavior, the emotional juxtapositions, the challenges, the things that motivate behavior. And we're then flipping them over to a lead generation piece using the most welcome and the most desired means of interaction, which is to purchase advertising space. You're going to test 2 or 3 space advertisements and then send people from that platform who have been discussing about these things, who are engaged in these forums, to specific products and services. Now, again, I'd rather you generate a lead first. And this is something you'd do with your customer. You'd explain this to them, that if you get the lead, then you can follow up, and there's no moderators. You get the lead, or you offer a product that gets mailed to them, or you offer them a low-cost thing. You could end up with their name, address, and phone number. So now you're going from an anonymous platform to an actual customer engagement. You want to send them somewhere to get something of value, and now that you've dug through these threads, you can emotionally talk to that specific audience. Now, you've got 3 ads. You've got some lead generation. You have all your analytics in place so you know which ads produce results. You take the best ads from the Reddit platform and you go test them on Google AdSense. You go test them on Facebook marketing. You go test them on all the other platforms feeding that marketing campaign. Now, what you've done here is, because you're not interacting on the message board, or you haven't gone in there and caused a frustration or anything, you're under the radar when it comes to moderators. You're also able to connect with that audience directly, and you don't influence the conversations. Again, you've archived off the thread, you've dug through that thread, you've created your library of materials, you've even written sales letters that they're going to use someplace else. Now, the caveat to this is that your Reddit audience is skewed. They're biased. They tend to be younger individuals. Now, they could be your exact target market, but they tend to be younger individuals. They tend to be more liberal. They tend to be hiding rather than out front. But again, if you are looking at major magazine circulation, so I use the personal finance example, they would be similar to the general audience that goes to Forbes, or the general audience that goes to a personal finance magazine. So if you're already targeting those audiences, then you will get useful and relevant information. What's more powerful than this is, because you're going to walk away with those 5 elements that we talked about, you're going to have situations. This is input to situations that you can then cultivate materials to put on your blog. So you can create content for the topic testing methods that we've talked about. You can take content, you can create content for email follow-ups. You can, in your own media, ridicule the bad advice. So there's nothing wrong with writing an email to your list that says, hey, have you seen the bad advice on Reddit? These people have a problem where they're married, 3 kids, broke, and not sure how it happened, and they're getting ridiculed. Do you have that problem as a high-income professional? You're afraid to ask for help because you make good money, but you're still not able to pay the bills? Well, it's a common situation that you need to be aware of. And so rather than going at and asking on Reddit, why not raise your hand and get a free consultation? Why not attend our webinar? Why not get involved with such and such? Do you see what I'm doing here? I'm able to access through Reddit for free market demographics, market research that is coming from people's hearts, coming from their emotions. And I'm able to translate that using the 5 elements that we talked about here in order to feed my market funnel with avatars and research, audience segments, with inventories of objections and sarcasm around good advice. I'm able to identify possible future products if I was a publisher. And those products, again, could be content behind a paywall. It could be the topic of a webinar. And then The bonus tip I want to give you here before I wrap up is that I can test these ideas and concepts with a podcast, and we've talked about that before, with my own media, and also in lead generation. Can you see how powerful this is? How in front of you today, if you can disconnect from the distractions that are there, you have a free market research tool that is incredibly profitable. Again, this is why I recommend you archive off into a PDF your thread that you're going to work with, and you go to a research mentality rather than a conversational mentality, and ultimately you create results. I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing Copywriting Tips, and we talk about what freelance copywriters and marketers need to get industry growing and agency level results. I want to hear that you're making six figures. I want to hear that you're producing 5-6-figure campaigns. I want to hear that you're growing. And this is one of the methodologies that you use by leveraging these free market research tools. Now, there are paid market research tools too, but I understand from feedback of subscribers that you're not going to pay $700 a month for a research tool. I believe the Reddit methodology that I just shared with you today is worth thousands of dollars a month. If you'd like to go into more detail about how to use Reddit threads or social message board threads to feed your intelligence so that you can create better lead tools, better sales letters, and even products, then be sure to visit us at www.adbriefings.co.uk, where you can ask your questions about market research and developing products. I want to thank you for listening. Again, I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips, where we help freelance marketers and freelance copywriters grow their business into an agency level performance. Regular income every month, $1 million plus gross sales and more. Again, thanks for being a subscriber, and I'll see you in the next episode.